So I've been having a bit of a time lately, and it's a time of transition. I'm switching jobs. It's a little rough. Luna's gonna say hi. It's been a little bit rough, but instead of focusing on that, I thought I would focus on things that I have actually really been doing good in and have improved in. And one of those things is a friend breakup I had about 3.5 years ago. And I feel like I am finally starting to move past it, finally. It's still hard, but it's nowhere near how it was. And it was the most traumatic thing that's ever happened to me. And I really wish that somebody had given me a blueprint at the beginning of this process and told me, okay, here are all the steps that you are going to go through. Here is how it will happen. Here's what you need to know. And I really wish that I could have made that for myself 3.5 years ago, because I've had a few therapists, but it's just never really worked out, or money's been an issue. I'm actually getting a life coach, and I'm really excited about getting some sort of direction and help. I'm not using the life coach for this trauma processing, using it for other stuff. So most of this stuff I have actually had to figure out myself, and I'm really proud of myself for having done that. So, to start with, you don't go through the phases of grief in a linear way. Like, there's no long time of denial, and then several months of bargaining, and then several months of, like, sadness, and then several months of anger, and acceptance. Like, that's bullshit. You go in and out of them rapidly, frequently, in a cycle of days to weeks to months. And it is okay to feel those things. All of those phases are necessary and important. I'd say for at least a year afterwards, I was furious. I was so mad. And it was honestly a little easier while I was still just really mad, especially in that first 6 to 12 months, before the sadness really started to hit me. So, and don't feel bad for being in this phase. People are like, oh, well, you should forgive. Like, maybe that's at the end of the process, but for most people at the beginning, no, feel mad. You should. Shit happened. That wasn't okay. You can be mad. Like, it's fine. I have friends of mine who are in different phases of grief for stuff, and I would never shame them for being angry. I was so angry. I plotted revenge. After that, I actually hit this long period of time, which was most of the rest of it, of just analyzing it and processing it and turning it around like a little orb in my hands and examining it from every possible angle, every little different glint of light that I could possibly see, to just examine the shit out of this trauma in hopes that would make it go away. And this is a valid step in the process. It is. You kind of need to understand things if you want to move on past them, or at least for me. Maybe not everybody's like that. Maybe you can skip this phase for some people, but for me, yeah, no. I was examining every single part of it. And I tend to be really all or nothing, really black or white. I'm 100% this way or that way. They are bad. I am good. I am right. They are wrong. And a lot of the healing process for me, which is what I wish, I kind of had an idea, because this is a big problem for me. I do this all the time. But if somebody had said at the beginning especially, okay, this process is going to be unlearning that. This process is going to be seeing the nuance in the situation. I was the victim in certain situations, but I wasn't this victim in every situation that happened, And so, there's an aspect of accepting my responsibility for it, which I felt like I did, but I felt like this other person had a bigger responsibility for it, and so it was hard for me. There was also several periods of time where I was kind of in that bargaining stage of grief, where I would go, I wonder if I should contact him. I wonder if I should contact him. Especially towards the beginning of the process, I would have months where I would just have constant dreams about this person, and just an urgent need that I need to contact them, even though waking, I knew in my logical mind that that wasn't true. My subconscious would just continue to process this in my sleep, because it was too hard for me to process while I was awake. So I had several patterns of dreams that would repeat and repeat And finally, knock on wood, they have let up. I'm not going to say that they won't come back because they've gone away for several months before and then they'll come back. But they've changed as I've changed. And they've grown as I've grown. I don't get the ones anymore. I only did for like a couple years where I felt like the urgent need to contact him. I would start to have other ones where I would confront him or where I would see him and let him go. So like the dreams actually started to change. But I will say that the worst ones, which I probably will have the occasional one for the rest of my life, will just be a dream where it's high school. And it's the 6 years before everything blew up, and everything is great and awesome. And then I become lucid during the dream, and then I remember that I don't talk to this person anymore, and then it's like the worst earth-shattering thing. But I've slowly started to get better at not letting that affect the rest of my day, and just waking up and letting that go. I've gotten a lot better at that. So I will say that. And then finally, towards the end of this grieving process, I started to see the gray in between the black and white more and more and more until I finally came to this part where I just broke and had to stop viewing the other person as a complete and total monster. And I'm not saying that they didn't do bad stuff. They really hurt my friends more than they even hurt me. But, you know, most people aren't like Disney villains, you know? Most people aren't just out here to hurt people for the sake of hurting people, especially people that they care about. What happens is you grow apart. What happens is life, man. Life happens. Messy situations happen, and you end up hurting people that you care about. And it doesn't mean that they didn't hurt you. Like, you can still be mad. It's still valid to cut them off. But you can also acknowledge that they might have not been malevolent, they might have just been a little stupid. Like, there's, you know, can be a mixture of all of this. But ultimately, I had to come to terms with this and stop just seeing the bad and then finally start processing, okay, there was a lot of good too. And so now I've finally come to the place where at the beginning of the year, I kind of let go of all of this anger and hatred and rage. I had a breakthrough. It was really stressful. There was a couple weeks where I was just like talking to my mom and another friend, and I was just like coming to the realization that like he's not a monster. And it was like a couple weeks and I lost a lot of weight because when I'm stressed I lose a lot of weight. But when I finally was journaling and was like, this has all led me to the conclusion that I should just forgive him and move on, and it's not related to if he deserves it, but I'm gonna move on. And then I had one last period of like, should I ever try and reach out again? And then I determined that, nope, I don't think I need to. And then now I have finally moved on. I don't feel like I ever will need to reach out to him anymore. That feeling has finally gone away. So my resolution for this year has been to think about him less and less, as little as possible, and now I'm happy to report that I finally don't think about it regularly all the time. Instead, when these thoughts come up, I accept them, I keep space for them, and I have taken more of a passive, accepting role in this healing journey, and I have finally stopped over-examining and over-analyzing and ruminating on every little thing, and instead, when I am hit with a moment of sadness, or I just remember something, and I'm like, oh, I wish I could tell him, or I wish I could show him this, instead it just kind of feels like a friend that died 3 years ago, honestly, is what it feels like. And so instead of having judgment about those thoughts, and instead of thinking, oh, you shouldn't feel that, or you should get angry, or upset, or anxious, or depressed, I can just say, it's okay that you feel that way. It's fine. And feel the feeling, and then let it go. So that's the part that we're at now. I'm trying to feel my feelings, and it's really hard. I'm trying to just accept when I'm sad and when I'm angry, and just start to learn to process my emotions regularly, which I don't know if I've ever learned to do. So anyway, I hope this helped somebody. I really wish that I had had this video like 3 years ago, because I'm the person that wants to know how everything's gonna go and what I need to do. So, hope it helped.